Wndrsoul.
Wndrsoul.
Batman. Wow, you totally left me hanging on that.
I
Literally,
did.
a little BTS for everyone listening. I literally just told Bailey, I said, dude, let's start off by Together in Sync.
Didn't work that way for you.
Doing the little Batman da-na-na-na-na, and she just watched me and laughed at me. So anyways, welcome to another episode of the Wndrsoul podcast. If you guys couldn't tell, we are talking about Batman Caped Crusader, and you probably already know that because it's on the title of this episode. So, you know,
If it wasn't obvious by that.
if it wasn't obvious. What are you gonna get from this episode, though? We're gonna probably just talk about our general thoughts, some specifics. It's gonna be spoiler filled, though. We are not going to be tiptoeing around. We'll start here with just our general thoughts, and then if you haven't seen Batman Caped Crusader, definitely go check it out on Prime Video, and then come back and listen to the rest of the episode, okay? So with that being said, Bailey, what did you think of Batman Caped Crusader? And try to keep it spoiler free.
So I loved it. And I am not a huge Batman person. I mean, I'm not really like a huge Superman, like a superhero person. But I loved the audio drama Batman we used to listen to. And I love a good like noir vibe, detective. Like obviously I'm here for Harry Dresden, so you know.
Yes.
But I actually prefer Batman as the detective as opposed to like the tech icon or the like physically beefy, overpowering person.
Yeah.
I like the idea that he's like smart enough to investigate things, the whole
Yeah.
lurk in shadows.
Yeah.
And this was one of the first. I don't know, maybe not the first, but it's the most. It stands out the most as far as portraying him as a detective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean this is similar to like the Matt Reeves live action one that we just got with Robert Pattinson, where it's like early years Batman, more detective.
Well, yeah, and he's still young Bruce Wayne because he's just like stepping out into social life again.
Yeah,
That's something they comment on, other than like being with the ladies.
Yeah, playing up to that playboy, billionaire.
Which I mean, I think he has a consistent lady.
Yeah,
but she's like also plays up into his
right,
his public appearance.
Yeah, that's kind of the whole shtick. He's really Batman playing Bruce Wayne, not Bruce Wayne playing Batman.
Yes,
right. Yeah, this was really, really good. Like, I think in one of the previous attempts at recording this, I was mentioning my love and memories for the Batman animated series from the 90s, Bruce Timm, which we'll bring up here in a minute. But I love that show. I had the whole series on Blu-ray and DVD here. Just for me, for the kids, I'm just really excited to go through that show all over again. It is probably the definite version of Batman for me. There's been a lot of great live action takes.
Well, I objectively think DC does animated better than it does anything else. I find the animated better than most of like the comics I've read and most of the movies I've seen that are DC.
Mm-hmm.
So I always have a very high standard for DC stuff, especially when it's Batman or Superman, because that's kind of their like main properties.
Right. Yeah, that's their big two.
But the like Art Deco style that like reigns through this whole like series is so cool and so stylized, and I'm a sucker for stylized anyway, let alone well animated, well voice acted stylizations.
Which I mean, I think honestly for me this show does all that. Like, my general thoughts are it's good, go watch it. It is it just depends. If you are a fan of the Batman animated series, try to come into this with like a different perspective. Don't come in here trying to constantly compare it to that.
Oh, it's very different than the other animated
very different
stuff. Especially the stuff that's animated that's current. Like I guess I think of like Harley Quinn and
Yeah. That kind of stuff that's on Max right now.
Yeah,
that they're
like
doing.
I guess that's what I think of as their current version
Right.
of animated series. This is very different,
Mm-hmm.
both in the writing and the visual.
Yeah, one of the reasons why to me it's different is that it's a timepiece. It's in the 1940s, so you get like a really nice atmosphere that you don't get from the other versions of this character in the story. So I really appreciate it. It really plays
and
in.
the tech is lower.
The tech is very well.
I mean, it's higher for its time,
right,
and it suits what would be available at that area. But I appreciate that because he does have to like lean heavily on his intellect and decision making and things like that, and he does a lot more like surveillance. You see him surveilling a lot more in this, like him watching situations.
Yeah, and also this is not year one Batman. This is not early in the career. This is literally from what I understood is like first couple weeks Batman. Like Batman is just starting out. Like even him and Alfred, their dynamic is
because
like,
he calls him Pennyworth in the beginning.
Yeah,
he doesn't call him Alfred until like almost the last episode.
Right. So it's like watching their relationship evolve and stuff. And
well, and you get to see like, and this isn't really a spoiler because obviously anything that's in a Batman universe is gonna have Batman villains.
Yeah.
But Selena Kyle is also very early into her situation. Like we see her first day as Catwoman, which is cool.
Very cool.
Because it shows that like most people are like rolling up into their newbie phases of things. They've not reached like megalomaniac.
No. And that's kind of what's cool is like you're mentioning the villains are also starting out. This is their origin stories for the most part. I don't know. Besides the Penguin, which I guess at this point we're going to just start to really just talk about our thoughts about the show. So if you guys haven't seen the show, please go check it out and then come back and listen to the rest of this episode, okay? I mean, Bailey both really enjoyed it. We watched it over like a couple weeks. We just kind of dipped and dived into it. It's got about like 10 episodes. It's like really easy to sit down and watch.
Oh, it's very easy.
Yeah. And it's one of those shows that it's like Monster of the Week. You can start really anywhere. And, you don't have to watch it in order. It's not so heavily reliant.
No, you could definitely watch it out of order and still be pleased with it. So if you have like a favorite villain that's on the roster of episodes, I definitely give that one a go and see.
Yeah, definitely.
Now that we've given our disclaimer or whatever, one thing I liked is that all the villains were slightly different.
Slightly, yeah.
Like
and
the
some
Penguin
were like,
is a lady.
Yeah.
And I loved it.
It kind of worked.
It did. Like the chest, like her physical form also fits a penguin well.
Yeah. She was cool too. Yeah. That's the first episode, and I thought it was really cool because, like, think about it. We've gotten so many interpretations of the Penguin so far, and we have that Colin Farrell show coming out on Max this year.
Well, he nailed it. He was unrecognizable as the Penguin. But that's off topic. So the Penguin was cool. Loved this rendition of Clayface. Probably my favorite. Like,
very cool.
All-time favorite.
Especially because me and you have watched a lot of the Harley Quinn show. Clayface is in that. He's an actor. He's really funny.
He's a thespian.
Yeah. They really play into that. But in here, he's also an actor, right? Was he an actor or makeup artist?
No, so he's an actor who essentially is having a makeup artist / scientist perform experiments to make him handsome.
Yeah.
Because he's got the like the John Waters, like he's just very gaunt and sunken in, so they kind of always cast him as like the villain. They typecast him a lot, right. So he wants to be the leading man. So it's not even that he's not famous, because he is actually a relatively well-famous actor in this. But,
he's not the leading man. He's not the, the hero. He's always like, in the background, the thug, kind of the villain. Yeah. So it's really cool to see his transformation, and his look is not the big goop of mud clay that you see from like the animated series and like other renditions of that character. It is literally very. Now, here's something that I should put out there.
He looks very Phantom of the Opera.
So what I was about to say is like a really cool thing about the show in general is even with the villains, the vibes are very universal monsters.
Yes.
You know?
Which I think you hit that with the like monster of the week, but you mean like in a literal sense.
Yeah, like they pay a lot
All
of
them...
like tributes to those films and those characters, and I think Clayface nailed it.
Is that era of like Hollywood.
Yeah,
so this is the golden age of Hollywood, and like this would have been that time.
Which is
so
really
that's
cool.
a really cool way to like present introduction of villains.
Yeah, and me and you, Bailey, are big fans of horror, modern, classic. Yeah. So we really love that. We love spooky vibes. So we
even the coloring schemes, like the one that's about Clayface has like that brown wash over everything. Yeah, like they do an extremely good job visually telling a story.
Yeah, they do, and I think like there's got to be pressure to live up to the expectations of a Batman animated series because like for full disclaimer, and I'll bring this up real quick about the development of the show. I found this really interesting because I have heard about this show for a long time, but I remember hearing that it had some issues. A lot of people are probably wondering, well, Batman, DC, why isn't this, bless you, why is this not on HBO Max, right? So Warner Brothers came up to the DC producer Bruce Timm, right? He's the guy that I told you worked on the animated series.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Yo, can you do that? Do you want to do like a reboot or like a continuation of that?" And he's like, "Nah, man, I refuse to develop another Batman show that's like connected to that universe." But then they had discussions and they had different ideas for what they wanted to do. But he said he wanted a more, quote, more of a pulp serial mystery film noir depiction of the character, which is what we just said we loved and what we got. So they definitely nailed that. Let's see. I'm just kind of scanning over this right now. But did you know that J.J. Abrams worked on this show?
I know he was consulted on it.
Okay, yeah, I think he's like an executive producer.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
I know that they sought him out for influence and storyboarding on this.
Yeah. Well, I know that Matt Reeves, who made the Robert Pattinson, the Batman,
which I liked,
which we both liked.
I was here for broody emo Batman.
Yeah. Yeah.
Give me the death cab for cutie Batman at all times.
I loved it, dude. And I really need to sit back and watch that movie again. I haven't seen it in a while since we went to the theater and saw it. I think I saw it one more time since it's
I saw
been
it
out.
one more time after that.
Yeah. It was like a Max or something.
Mm-hmm.
But here in May 2021, it was announced that they were going to do the show. It was going to be developed by Reeves, Abrams, and Bruce Timm. And it was titled Batman Caped Crusader. It would premiere on Cartoon Network and HBO Max. But here's the thing. It never did. We watched this on Prime. Because in August of 2022, it was reported that the series would no longer be moving forward on HBO Max as part of the service original program.
I wonder if that's because they chose to renew Harley Quinn and keep going with that production in seasons.
Look,
so they didn't want to invest into Batman.
This opens up a whole can of worms, and this would be a whole nother conversation. One that I still need to be educated in, but Warner Brothers is a shit show right now. The way that they're shopping their properties, the way that they're handling their properties.
Was Warner Brothers who did The Flash?
Technically, Warner Brothers does the DC stuff. Like I told you the other day, like they shut down the Cartoon Network website when you click on
that actually upsets me.
Upsets me.
Like, you know,
so much. There were so many cool like games and stuff growing up. I remember going to cartoonnetwork.com and then Toonami and stuff. And now when you click on that website, like you can still Google it, but when you click on it, it takes you to HBO Max.
Yep.
Sucks. So I hate that. I hate that so much. And dude, that My Adventures with Superman is on Adult Swim and on Max, and that's done really good. And I really like that. So I was like, why didn't they do both of these.
Telling you, I think it's
like an anime Superman.
I don't think they wanted to risk how different this is than those two IPs.
I also feel like they're worried about oversaturating the market with Batman, but I mean, like, that's really cool contrast. Like, think about it.
But now's the time because Marvel's not oversaturating, so for once DC could.
Right, but like, I love the idea of like an anime Superman, and then a detective noir Batman, like a bright, fun.
Oh yeah, and then like a goofy, dark humor Harley Quinn. Like it all would work. But HBO does whatever the fuck HBO wants. They have motives. We just don't know them.
But they're the way they're doing things. It's so frustrating.
Hold on, but before we get off topic, or before we move past that, Harlequin in the Caped Crusader is so cool.
Oh, for sure.
And it's one of the first times that you see her before you see the Joker.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
That's really cool.
So you get to see Harlequin stop being Dr. Quinzel and start being Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
Then you get to see her almost be caught.
Mm.
And then you get to see like how dark she actually goes and how complicated that is.
Yeah. She's like a Saw-like character too, dude.
Oh, very much Saw-like. She's got them in like cells.
Yeah.
And is like doing like, it makes me think of that thing from Baldur's Gate 2, the Auntie Ethel, where she's like fucking them up in ways that's close to what they wanted.
Gate 3, yeah, with Auntie Ethel. She has those people trapped and fucking with them.
She's a therapist, as she often is, or psychiatrist. Mm. And Bruce is like mandated to see her. Is that what happened?
He got into some kind of fight, right? Didn't he punch somebody? Someone.
So he was like court mandated to see her, and she like won't sign off on him because he's not fucking trying. Right. But then, you know, basically their stuff ends, and you find out that she's really good friends with Barbara.
Yeah.
Who you also see before you see her dad. So it's really interesting the order you meet some of these characters. Because Barbara Gordon is a lawyer in this. And she's like opposite Harvey Dent as a district attorney, right?
Yes. So she is a lawyer, yeah.
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 So you kind of, because you almost meet Harvey Dent and her at the same time.
Yeah, in a court. Yeah.
Yeah, in a court case going back and forth. Then you meet Dr. Quinzel. Then you meet the police chief, like Commissioner Gordon and all that.
Yeah.
You meet these people in a different order than I have been familiarized with in other Batman stories. In other stuff, it's always you know Commissioner Gordon first. You know the Joker first. The Joker. But you know the Joker first, and like we don't even see him until like the last 30 seconds of the season. Yeah, and then it's one that's like, oh, is that him? And then there's no way it's like not. A little Easter egg. The fucking way they're going.
Yeah,
but it's I liked that. I preferred meeting those people in a different order and having them in different roles, but still parallel to Batman.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the thing that you will notice with this show is that they did things differently, but not just to be different, in my opinion. I know a lot of other people might argue with that, whatever.
And some people are going to argue like the people of color argument.
Right.
Because there are different ethnicities and things like that for all of these characters.
Or gender swapping, like we're talking about with the Penguin being a girl this time. That's a whole thing. Whatever. It's just like
I was fine with it.
Yeah, it
as a person that's not like ride or die for the DC world. Yeah. Like I was cool with it. I preferred it. It was almost refreshing.
Well, look, let's be honest with each other, and let's be honest with everyone listening right now. How many times have they done a Batman show, a Batman movie, a Batman throughout the comics? I mean, it's like if you're going to pitch another Batman show, you gotta do it a little bit different. You gotta do something and I think that this approach, going to 1940s detective noir, using the cast of villains that they did use in here, because like you said, we know about Harley Quinn, we know about Clayface, but we hadn't seen them depicted like this. And then you got some other people like the Gentleman Ghost.
Gentleman Ghost was cool.
He was really cool. Who else was in this show, man?
Because it was a lot of people that I don't think we see as much as other people.
Absolutely.
Because Harvey Dent isn't even Two-Face for most of this either. And then when he is Two-Face, he's like a Robin Hood Two-Face.
Right.
Murdering the bad guys to give back to the population.
Yeah, dude, I love this version of Harvey Dent.
Oh, yeah, because he's still prosecuting
He's
people.
still a
He's
dick.
just not doing it the way he used to.
Yeah, he becomes his own vigilante. He kind of starts taking things into his own hands.
Because I think there's even a point where he's like, the other guy's not going to kill you, but I am.
Look, and I will say, besides the Christopher Nolan Batman films with Two-Face, that Two-Face is disturbing because it's so realistic. You know,
Are you talking about the Cillian Murphy one?
You know,
or not Cillian Murphy, but
what's his face? You know who I'm talking about. Everyone listening knows who I'm talking about. But the way they did his like burns and his like face was like, oh, that looked weird. It was just so disgusting. It was so scary. It's supposed
he
to
looked
draw.
like Swiss cheese.
It did, but this did too. This looked.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's
like,
the point. This was very Freddy Krueger kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
Like,
I did not like it. It made me
no, and I love because it's very like noir, you know, kind of vibes. I love that he always uses the shadow. So he's like, oh, yeah, look, I'm still handsome. Ha ha, joke's on you, I get it in the face. Like, you're just like, oh my God.
Yeah. And I love that it's like the mob that like throws acid in his face.
And yeah.
He's got these times. Because in the show, like, Harvey's running for mayor. He's like a lawyer, but he's also...
But he starts taking kickbacks.
Yeah. And he's like getting desperate and he starts talking to the mob.
But then he grows a conscience.
Yeah.
Because he is a good prosecutor.
He is a good guy. Like,
yes.
Internally, he is a good guy.
He gets a little greedy, but he is a good guy.
Right.
So he does the right thing. And they're like, oh, bitch, you took our money. Bet.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to get ours.
Because he was supposed to prosecute one guy. Or he was supposed to let this guy go.
But the guy had like swindled all these elderly people in Gotham.
Yeah, it was a whole thing.
And he just couldn't let it go. Yeah. So he was like, you know what? Fuck it.
This guy.
But then he loses half his face and all of his sanity.
But
him and Bruce Wayne are really close friends in this.
I like that too.
Because Bruce Wayne even like takes him out to try to like rally him and bring him up. And he like has a fucking mental snap.
Yeah.
In a public place. And even Alfred's like, bro, you went too far. Like, that was too far. You didn't have to do all that.
It just feels fresh to get this kind of depiction of all these characters. And I liked how they handled Harvey because it was like a whole season of buildup, you know? So I really enjoyed all that. I also, like you said, I liked the Harley Quinn. I'm glad it wasn't that accent that she has all the time too. Like, I don't know. I just felt like I could take her serious.
I didn't hear the accent at all.
No, she doesn't do that shit.
That's what I'm saying. But she does wear the Jester outfit.
Yeah, but it was a different one and it was creepy.
And it's like to hide her identity because she still is a functioning member of society. Yeah. She's just also like torturing these really fucked up, really wealthy men under the city.
Yeah, dude, it's really cool to see like how they can just tweak a couple things and it can make a big difference as far as like revisiting some of these characters and stuff. But yeah, like I honestly felt like there are going to be people that want more mainstream villains, but I think that you save those, you know, like, all right, I'm pretty sure there is a season 2. I'm sure we could confirm that, but with that being said...
Oh, I'm sure there's going to. I mean, it was very well done. So
I think it's got a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
And you know that's all they care about. They're like, yes. Well, no, they probably care about other things.
Tomatoes look.
Yeah. I did like Catwoman. She was not my favorite version of Catwoman ever.
Like that her and Bruce Wayne had already like fucked around. Like
did they?
Yeah, because she was like a wealthy socialite and then her dad goes to prison.
Right.
Is the whole thing. So then she's like, well, fuck it. Like, I gotta make money to pay for this lifestyle. Like, I'm not giving up any of this hustle. And then she, like, starts robbing people and then goes for Bruce Wayne's mom's stuff, which was apparently too far for him. He was like, look, I know it's her. Yeah. But then that was too far.
Yeah, you can see, like, them having chemistry, like, you know, honestly.
Well, and they but they flirt as Selena Kyle and Bruce Wayne in one of the episodes.
They do.
So this is long before she's even become Catwoman.
Yeah.
And then she says she's inspired by Batman, and that's the whole reason she does it.
She even gets like a Catmobile.
Yeah.
Like,
Which is banging. It's like purple with
yeah,
fucking claws and
it
shit.
was,
It's a baller.
See, I also feel like they pay tribute to like the Adam West 60s Batman with some of the stuff being so like cheesy, goofy.
Because they're all about the Batmobile, and he's got such a hot car.
The Batmobile grew on me, but I was
The
not.
Batmobile was dope. I'm not gonna lie,
It was not my favorite.
But everybody talks about the Batmobile.
It's not my favorite, but it wasn't bad either. I mean, one episode that we liked, that one, episode number 8, Nocturne, with the little girl at the carnival. It was like a vampire.
That was so cool, where she was like sucking people's souls and life forces and
life
stuff.
force and shit. Yeah.
But then she like murks her own brother, man.
Yeah.
She goes too far.
But
she is like a vampire. She like
basically,
yeah,
she's like an energy vampire. But
that goes back to the Universal thing.
But that's what's cool about this show is that you have grounded, real people, criminals, and then they tiptoe into the supernatural. True. And that shit is cool because then you even see Batman going like when he's going after gentleman ghosts. Like it's like a Scooby-Doo episode. You're like, oh, that's not a ghost.
Like he goes to punch him, and he's like, "What the hell is this? What am I supposed to do with this?"
Say he is a ghost,
and he's like, And
he goes sees like this voodoo, like
Yeah, he seeks help. He don't know nothing about that. He's like, I gotta find someone.
Like what do I gotta do? It's cool. I like that mix of supernatural science fiction. Like,
well, and Firebug was very science fiction because it was all a homemade rig.
Yeah.
Like his whole getup was like self-made.
Firebug is not Firefly, which I don't know the difference, but people have been confusing those, so I don't know. Either way, he dead now.
Firebug in there. Yeah,
he did. He doesn't.
And the Carnival Girl was the one where they like the carnies beat up Bruce Wayne because they think he's a pedophile.
Yo.
They're like, why are you looking for little girls by yourself, man? And Bearded Lady just schools him.
They threw his ass into a ditch, man.
Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
Got all tangled in his own clothes in a ditch.
Yeah.
Crawling in the back of his own car like hours later.
I will say that like the Dent stuff basically is the last 2 episodes.
Well, and I think the Dent is like the overarching arc. Obviously, so is Harlequin because she's like Barbara's best friend.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she dates the agent
Montoya.
Yeah. So like she's involved in a lot of the story, and Dent is involved in a lot of the story, and I think that was cool.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Because they were natural. Excuse me. Mm-hmm. They were natural story progressions. They didn't feel forced. They didn't feel like, but you saw their full evolution. Like you saw Harley get tired of people's bullshit, and Dent decide to be the good guy and it go wrong.
Yeah. And that's, to get back to like just Batman in this, when we're dealing with this variety of villains, I think his approach to everything is pretty unique. You can, like you said earlier, he has to use his mind. It's not so much more Batman swooping in, punching people, and he, saves the day. It's him learning to strike fear into his enemies, using stealth and like, his investigations as far as getting information and like scaring, like he
spreads false information at one point to catch Catwoman.
Yeah, he does.
They do the whole like, because they're getting burglared, we're gonna close it early and move everything. Like he thinks this scheme out to catch her, and he's successful.
Yeah, he's very successful. I mean, actually, a lot of the times in this show, he fails a lot,
which I appreciate.
Yeah, it shows that he's not the perfect. I think like sometimes Batman is depicted as like this, like he's 2 steps ahead all the time, and
not in this.
He always has something in his utility belt to get him out of like any situation.
But I think that's because we're an early Batman. So.
Yeah, and I like that. I think that's kind of like people's argument for Spider-Man sometimes is just you want that street level version of the character that's like not so I'm saving the world Batman in the Justice League. You like him just like I'm just trying to protect this fucking city.
Which this Batman is. It kind of reminds me of like some other like lower level superheroes.
Yeah.
Because he's
like
on
a Daredevil.
Yeah, because he's on like fire escapes.
Yeah.
And he's
rooftops.
and rooftops and like leaned up against the shadows and alleyways so he can't be seen from the street. It's very street level feeling for someone who's like the whole like DC's god.
Yeah,
is
right.
Him and Superman.
And I wonder what they'll do next. I think there's a cameo by Lois Lane, because we all know like Metropolis, Daily Planet, that's like a thing.
Well, and Bruce Wayne loves the press, so the press is always around in this.
So I wonder if we'll get a Clark Kent Superman in season 2. Would you want other heroes to make an appearance?
I figure we would eventually have to.
Yeah.
To some extent. I mean, because that is Batman's evolution and story, is he does inevitably become the Justice League.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we're going to have to see that. I'm very interested to see what other, because the Gentleman Ghost, Firebug, which I guess is Firefly and other stuff.
Yeah.
I just knew he was like the arson guy that gets blown up.
The arson guy, yeah.
There was one more that was like not a Batman villain we see a whole lot of.
There was that group of guys that were trying to make that hit on Jim Gordon. They wore the circle mask and stuff.
That's what I was trying to think of.
Yeah, there's those guys.
And those are something which they remind me of Sleep Token's mask. That's immediately what I thought of when I saw that guy. But I will be interested to see what villains we see in season 2, because this did not. I mean, obviously we're gonna see the Joker because they tease it. Which they tease it in that really fucked up way, because I guess that's him messing with the nerve gas thing that makes people laugh till they die.
Yeah, that's
so, you know, we know we're gonna see him, but I would be interested to see what other lower level or what other not as commonly. Because I mean, really, when was the last time you heard Gentleman Ghost using anything?
You know what this also reminds me of? I don't know if you ever watched it, but Batman Brave and the Bold had a lot of
and I loved that though.
Yeah.
That's how I learned about a lot of those people.
They pulled from so many of like his rogue gallery that you don't really see, because that's the trouble with a lot of these heroes. You get kind of stuck using the same villains, right? Spider-Man's always going to fight Green Goblin. Batman is always going to fight the Joker.
Yeah,
Superman's...
but see, I love seeing Spider-Man fight the, what's the Sandman and
other...
Doc Ock.
Yeah, those are like the main...
But Doc Ock's way cooler than Green Goblin.
But even in the Spider-Man video games, they're doing like Mr. Negative and just like some of the ones that are kind of to the side a lot more. I don't know. I think it's just like that's sometimes for those heroes, the villains are more interesting. You know, and
in a lot of those heroes, I think they're more interesting.
Yeah. I mean,
but I always simp for the villain. Like I'm always, I mean, even in My Hero, that was I rode for the villains.
What?
There were a lot of good villains in My Hero, but my point is, the villains usually have the more interesting backstory.
Yeah,
Batman is one of the few superheroes whose backstory starts as like childhood trauma turned me into the Knight.
The Knight. Which we kind of get some, throwbacks to young Bruce Wayne and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
like
We
that.
get him disassociating and completely ignoring the therapy he probably most definitely needs to be doing.
Yeah.
But,
I also felt like they made Batman scary again. Not just him. Because in the Batman and even in the Batman Arkham games, like the whole thing is like fear. And the Christopher Nolan is like, yo, he's going to strike fear. That is your weapon.
He is the Knight.
Yeah, but then you've captured that, and then you've also given the villains the opportunity to be scary. And I think that's cool.
I think because the villains are starting out, they're very scary. Because they're like just all gas, no brakes.
Yeah. Well, the one thing I like about Joker is all it takes is that, one bad day. Mm-hmm. I think seeing people before they become villains does something different for the viewer or the reader, because you are able to connect for a moment and go, oh, that's just, normal everyday Joe. And then, oh shit, now he is a fucking serial killer.
And maybe that's what makes this so great, because you see the full evolution of Harvey Dent and the full evolution of like Harley Quinzel. Like, you see it. You see her having fun on a date, goofing off, hanging out with her best friend, all that kind of stuff. Then you also see her with a bunch of men in diapers, like, trapped in these, like, cells. And she's
like
just,
Saw,
like,
dude.
has fucking broke them psychologically, because at one point she's like, go ahead. And she opens up and she's like, go earn your dinner. And he's just, like, going out with the fucking hammer. And you're like, oh, okay. Oh, you used all of your training to do bad things. Noted.
Well,
Noted.
yeah. Plus, she was getting money from they were all rich people.
Well, yeah, they were all like bad. I mean, these were like Epstein list kind
they
of
were
guys.
shitty,
like
shitty
these were
dudes.
bad, wealthy people.
Yeah, it wasn't anybody you feel bad for, but still, you're like, dude, that's kind of fucked up, you know. So there's
big time.
Yeah. So
but
like
Harvey Dent's doing the same thing though, because he's fucking up the mob.
Yeah.
He's out there taking out mobsters and all kinds of stuff. But then you're like, bro, was that too far? It might have been too far, buddy. That might have been too much. Like,
something I like about a good villain. Let me rephrase that. I think a villain is good when you can think that they are the hero to their own story. Like, what they are doing is
both of
they
those
think
people,
are doing good.
Yeah, both of those
They're
people
not-
think they're doing good.
Yeah, they're just doing fucked up ways.
Which doesn't
you
that
know?
make them an even more dangerous person?
Yeah, because even Batman falls into the category of being a vigilante. So it's like he's taking the law into his own hands.
Yeah, but he's just like beating them. He's not murdering them. They're most
You're right.
definitely murdering
Yeah,
them.
But I'm just saying, like, they're all working outside the law and outside the natural rule of things.
Well, if there's any theme in this series, it's that the police are not your friends.
No, the police suck.
And they suck. So, I mean,
Yeah.
maybe they need to work outside the law.
Yeah,
Maybe
I
the
mean-
law is no good in this zone. Like, maybe that's the whole thing.
We didn't get a lot of him partnering up with Jim Gordon, but you see him connecting with Barbara, and I'm wondering if we're going to see
him
a back.
creeping on Barbara. And
He's
Barbara
not
at one
creeping.
point is even like, you don't know how to open a door.
He's just doing Batman.
You don't know how to like
things.
make a phone call.
That's just how Batman does. Right?
And he's like, oh, I got a number though. You want to write my digits down, Barbara? So you can like call me sometime.
and it does work
It does.
in a clutch moment too,
It
right?
does work. I'll give him that. Could that man have used a door? Probably.
Just before we wrap things up, do you think we'll see a Barbara turn Batgirl, or do you think
Yes.
we'll see a
Yes.
Robin? Do you think we'll see any of that?
I thought one of the kids at the carnival was going to be Robin because
Yeah.
one of them's name is Dickie.
So like Dick Grayson.
Yeah. And then the other one's name was Jason.
Mm.
And I was like,
See, I wonder if they were just playing tribute to those.
I think they were. I don't think it's going to be anything long term.
But would you want him to have a sidekick this early in the game?
No, not this early, but I think like as the series progresses, if we get a third season, it would make sense for that to be the next step.
I see him interacting with other heroes before he gets his own sidekick.
Yeah, I almost would rather him be like meet adult Nightwing, like some other street level, like
another street level hero
Mm-hmm.
in the DC universe.
Yeah, like not necessarily Nightwing because obviously Nightwing is Robin grown up, but like someone that level.
You know what?
Like someone that's working out with like acrobatics and martial weapons.
Well, nobody comes to mind right now, but I will say that I would like them to eventually get there, but because we're so early in Batman's career, I like the scope still being on Gotham. And I think if you get to a season 3, then you can go beyond Gotham. You know, at that time, he's matured, he's got experience, and he's shown the different layers of things that are in his city. Oh, shit, things are bigger than that. You know, I think if you bring in a Superman who can fly and do all that shit, you're kind of like...
No, I think that's like too much.
Exactly.
Because that's not...
That kind of takes away from what they're doing with this version of Batman.
Right. And I think that's my point.
I love the world's finest. Look, I would love to see those two together. And this Batman with like a bright Superman, hey, I'm all for it. But let's like get there when it seems right.
Organic.
Yeah,
where it builds into
but that's
that kind of
I
thing.
kind of feel like they're putting the Joker in there is kind of forced.
I agree, but at the same time, they gave us a whole season of Batman without any Joker. Like it kind of had.
Maybe
to be.
Joker is going to be season 2's Two-Face, where it's like
I
that
do. I think we're going to
overarching-
see the evolution of the Joker.
Yeah.
I think we're seeing early in the drug making Joker.
Yeah.
I think we'll see like full like bombs, gases.
Wow. That's going to be cool.
That kind of Joker by the end of the season.
So you are all for a season 2? Yeah. Cool.
I love the style of this.
Me too. I love a good, like you said, we love a good detective noir, especially with us reading Dresden Files, everyone. You got to go check it out. All right. Jim Butcher. It's so good. You'll like it. But yeah, no, Batman Caped Crusader is pretty good show. I don't think it's perfect. I think that, that there are things that you could nitpick about. I think the voice acting was pretty good. I think the animation was actually pretty good. And so, we'll see what they do with the season 2. I would like to hear what everyone else thinks. I would like to also hear, what are some other, opinions and predictions for season 2. And yeah, let us know if you've seen it. Hopefully, if you're listening to this episode, you have watched it. But if you
paused and came back,
right? Yeah, that would, that's why we want to give those warnings. We know, like, I don't know, it's kind of like a balancing act. You want to talk about something and geek out, but you also want to like allow someone the opportunity to go through it fresh. So, any final thoughts, Bailey? I think that about covers it.
Yeah, I was here for it. For real. And I don't like superhero stuff. I love detective stuff. And this was exactly what I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
I think it was campy and cheesy in the right ways.
Yeah.
I enjoyed seeing new, or not really new, but different than the typical gauntlet of villains for him. I personally liked the gender swaps, the ethnicity changes. Like, I'm here for those.
Yeah.
I think they made more sense.
Yeah. I
did. Like,
I agree with everything you're saying.
Be a Caucasian person.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I agree. I think like this just felt fresh, and it felt like, hey, wow, there's so much Batman out there. So for you to do this and to hold my attention because of the changes you've made and the way you want to go about this version of this character, I think it was cool, man. So if you haven't checked it out already, please do. It is on Prime Video. I think 10 episodes. A little over.
We did 2 a night and was
fun. And they're like over 30 minutes or so. They're under an hour. They're
under an hour. I know that.
Digestible.
They're like 40 minutes, I thought, but
not bad. That's not bad. You'll kind of blaze through them, and you might even binge it. If you do, like, good for you. I know we were tempted to. But yeah, that's our thoughts on Batman Caped Crusader. We appreciate you guys tuning into this episode. If you guys like to hear more, thoughts on, shows, movies, books, and stuff, I know me and Bailey would like to sit down and talk about some other things that we've been enjoying in pop culture.
We've had good media lately.
We have had the best. We've been really lucky. We've been hitting it. We've been on a good streak here in 2024. I think that from animes to books to movies and things like that, I think we've been pretty blessed in the media department. So, thankful for that. But we hope you guys are doing good. And yeah, check us out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. If you know any of your friends, family, coworkers, classmates, I don't know, anybody who would enjoy Wndrsoul, feel free to share. But we are not going to take up any more of your time. Thank you for listening. And until the next time, do good and take care.
Bye-bye.
Wndrsoul.